contracts, agents, especially new agents, make sure when you are submitting a contract, you are submitting a full contract. It is Friday night, 6:37 p.m. and I am in front of my computer correcting or, making sure a contract that will go binding this evening is right. The buyer is a newer agent. I sense that. Yeah, I just sense that. Nice. I also see it by our license numbers. I can tell she's a newer agent, and I can also tell by the way I got the contract. Not to say that newer agents can't have their contracts unlocked, but it also comes from training. And I'm not even gonna say anything about her brokerage because I started with this company. So it could be just trying to manage many moving parts, just trying to get things over together, make sure she does things right. So what I am going to do is make these corrections. I could have prepared an email and then sent her everything that she needed to do, which I kind of did that already, but I didn't do an email. I did a Loom video walking through it and explaining because I just saw on our first 2 interactions as we're negotiating terms, how she took one thing and then didn't grasp it and then communicated it to the buyer. So after that happened twice, I was like, no, I'm gonna record a video and I'm gonna explain it. So I did that, but there are still some things that have been left out. So I'm gonna record another video, send it to her with this so that we can get it binding. But that's what I'm doing. I'm recording this video because not all agents are gonna do that. I'm grateful to have a contract on this property. So I'm gonna work with her to get it to the closing table. And I remember when I was new in my first contract, how that agent kind of, just kind of guided me and showed me the way. But every agent is not gonna do that, 1. And 2, if this house has several offers, she would not have made it. I guess she could have made it if the offer was just so strong. But if you're competing and the listing agent is getting in several offers, and there are things missing off and they got to go back to you and ask you to do this, and they're probably going to just look past yours if let's just say they're comparing apples to apples. So, offers are strong across the board. You're not going to get a second chance. So that's why you want to make sure you are submitting solid offers. So hopefully by me recording this video, explaining to her, she'll know, okay, next time, make sure I do these things up front, because trust me, compliance would have came back and been like, either compliance on my side or her side would come back and say, hey, we're missing these. We need this filled in. We need these exhibits lettered. We need, this spot is missing signatures. So just make sure if you are a newer agent, just haven't done so many contracts, get into a contracts class. Okay, make time to sit with a broker or whoever you have in your office to walk you through and make sure that you know what you're doing. And a lot of brokerages offer the class. It's up to you to actually sign up for the class. And then if you're on a team or you're doing some type of mentorship, these are the things that you should be covering. So I think that's about it. Quick video, but just want to stress how important contracts are. And this is on the front end. You also got to remember timelines. People's money is on the line, so you want to make sure that you are on top of it. We had a office meeting this week and it talked about just some things regarding contracts that agents, you are in control of this buyer's money for the most part. So you want to make sure that you're doing things right. And if you need to terminate, how's that working, and timelines and what forms you fill out and all. Here is an example. Okay, just something so simple. When you are pre-filling your contracts, I don't know why it's blank. There's a way that you fill your contracts. Once you put in the listing MLS, the MLS number, it will pull in the listing agent's information. Something like this, if you are competing or you are trying to, get your offer to stand out, having the fields filled in so that you're not creating additional work for the listing agent is helpful. Is it a huge deal? No, but it is taking me time versus me just being able to load this up, send it to my sellers for signature. I have to go through and make sure everything is in here correctly. Yeah, I actually heard another agent say that the agent just left everything blank. She just added the signature and she sent it back to her. I was like, no, you got to correct this. You got to fill this in. So just be mindful. Here's another example. Buyer and then seller. The seller's name is not filled in, which you can pull that from the listing tax record. So there are blanks here that really could have been filled in. I'm about to, well, I got it together and I'm about to send it to my seller to sign, but I just want to go over with you things that I had to add. So because compliance was going to come back to us on the back end, even if we sent this through, as well as the closing attorney probably. So here, the legal description was left blank. So I just pulled what was listed in the MLS under deed book and page, and I put that there. I changed this to 7 as agreed, so you can initial or have your buyer initial that we're on the same page there. I'll have them sign here. This is definitely one they would have flagged not having the exhibits filled in. So they were checked. They just didn't have that one. This one wasn't checked. So I added that one and then lettered them in the order that they're gonna be in. And I added this special stip that all parties acknowledge that the home is being sold as is. Please have the buyers, if they initial nothing else, they can initial that one. Oh, you're calling me. All right, hold on. Okay, let me keep going. I don't know how you pre-fill your forms. Like I use Remine, and once you put in the MLS number in Remine, like you set up the folder and you put the MLS number, it's gonna pull in like the listing agent's information. So I'm just sharing that in case you don't know. So yeah, it should pull in the information. I think once you put in you as the buyer, it will pull in your information too. Not 100, I don't remember that one fully. Okay, so that's cool. So once the initial we sign, I'm just thinking of the order, because normally I would send it to the seller and then have the seller send it to you for you to go ahead and bind, but we still need some signatures from the buyer, so you might have to send it back to me and then I'll add the binding date. But when the binding date goes here, that's when we'll be officially under contract, which should be tonight, and the clock will start tomorrow. So here I just again added the lettering to each one, and then remember to fill in the offer date on the exhibits as well. And then on the disclosures, you included them, but the buyer still hadn't signed them. So I added their name, so they need to go back and sign and date. If they're signing with dot loop, it will add a date next to it. That's gonna be fine, as long as the date is somewhere there. Same thing here, lettered it B, put the offer date in there. This one will need a signature as well, same thing. With the date, temporary occupancy. Okay, this was done. I added the lettering. Remember to fill in this section here. So I just copied what was on the front, 10 days at 12 noon, added that there. I'll have them initial, added that. You filled in the 14, but you have to fill in here as well. So if for some reason the appraisal came in low and you get the report, it's asking how many days do you have to ask the seller, basically, to reduce the price. This is just saying that once the seller gets it, then the seller again has 3 days. So I put 3 days, you could have put 2 or whatever, but this is just saying how many days the seller has to respond back to you. Included that, instructions to closing attorney. So just know for future, you write it out here and then you put the percentage over here. I mean, it should be fine. I doubt the closing attorney is gonna say anything, but I just added to that section, and kudos to you for having the buyer pay your difference. Going down, this was good. All right, so this is the F11. You put the F11 in there. I put the F10, so that's why it's here. So that's the one that was missing. So this is really the one that you should have put in, or you can put in both, F10 and F11. Some people just put in F10 and then get the F11 after the fact, but you just need both when you're using them. When you're having the attorney hold the earnest money, the buyer needs to initial here. I'm gonna go ahead and have the seller initial, but the buyer has to initial. And then we were good here, missing the seller's name. You could pull that from the tax record. I filled in the other information. Property address was over here on this side, so I just went over it and put what the buyer's address is and the seller's address. I mean, once they close, at closing, they're gonna have them fill out a sheet with their new contact information. That will be their new contact information, but for now, it is what it is. And anything else? Exhibit, this was good because we already talked about that. You're getting 2.5, and then you already included the instructions to closing attorney. Some people will wait to do that after the fact, but you did everything up front and got it signed. Okay, so now I'm gonna send this off to the seller to sign. So by the time I send it to you, then you just gotta plug in those few spots. All right, call me if you have any questions. All the good stuff. All right, I hope you got something from this video. Please check out another video, drop a comment, hit that like button. Don't forget to check out the Ugly Side of Real Estate podcast and the book, and I will see you in my next video.